It is much more difficult to do it by yourself than having a coach that you're working with and working me through, because sometimes fear comes in. I start having some limiting beliefs on why it can't be done. And I have you to challenge me on why, not pushing me and saying, oh, you never once scolded me and said, you didn't do this and you need to do this. Never once did you ever do that. But you would challenge me and ask me, well, maybe why didn't I do something? Do I feel differently about it? What's holding me back? That would probably be the big thing you would say to me is what's holding me back about it. And I'd be honest with you and be like, well, Sarah, what's holding me back is I'm scared of doing this or that, right? I mean, fear comes in. We're all human, you know, we come up with these crazy limiting beliefs on why we can't do something.
Right. Right. It's powerful. You've just gone to, I don't like using the word back because I tell people you're not going back to something. If you want to lose weight, you want to go back to your weight. You don't want to go back to your weight. You want to go to a new weight,
Right.
which is lower than where you are. You're reviewing, reviewing
Yes.
the psychology, 80% psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and having that support of a coach, the accountability partner. I don't know if I told you this. I am getting ready. I'm preparing to hike to Mount Everest Base Camp.
No way.
I am in May of 2024. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm
Oh
making the
my gosh.
plans. However, I am working out with two other people, and it makes a big difference. I did a 3 hour hike today, this morning, and all uphill. The elevation was amazing. When I have to show up for other people because I'm supporting them, they're supporting me,
Oh,
but so it's the same thing with a coach. I have a coach. I don't have a sports coach right now,
right.
although I'm working a fitness plan, but I have a coach that
Mm-hmm.
works with me on my business and also these other personal goals. But it's so you're not out there alone. It's
Sure.
like my husband is just the best thing since sliced bread. I love him. He's fabulous. However, he just can't hold me accountable. That puts a
Mm-hmm.
pressure on the relationship that's not fair.
Sure.
Yeah, like you were saying in the beginning of the call, a conversation that it's so amazing to have a coach to share the most of the conversation's positive, but there are some things you just want to say, I can't do that. I got out today. I didn't want to do that. Or,
Sure.
I've got this technology challenge and I just don't feel like doing it, and okay. So change your focus,
Yeah.
change your language,
Yeah. Yeah, we get in our heads sometimes. The saying that I've always heard that the reason why we need a coach, anybody needs a coach. So somebody who is the greatest baseball hitter or the greatest golfer, the reason why they need a coach is because they can't see themselves swing. I can't see
Right.
myself. I'm living it, internally. And that's where the
Right.
coach differs. So nobody is immune to not needing some sort of coaching. I want to hit on a second tool that you used with me. I almost said on me, but used with me that I love. And I know that it's a resource by many coaches, and that's the Wheel of Life, I think it's called.
You'll get different names. Wheel of Life, Balance Wheel.
Hmm.
It can vary, but it's just one of the best ever tools because the Wheel of Life or the Balance Wheel, however you want, it can have 8 or 10 areas of life. And I used this a lot at the beginning of this year. I mean, I used it a lot all the time, but it was just I went through a transition from 2022 to 2023. And, that's the other thing about coaching is we talk about identity. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And so I used the Wheel of Life and I said, in this transition, who do I want to be in a year from now? And the Wheel of Life, some of the categories are career, finance, family, health and fitness, community service, fun and recreation. There's a couple others that I think I left out. There's usually 8 or 10 categories. And what I did, which I would, encourage your listeners and you
Hmm.
at any point, generally it's a great way to measure where you are personally at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
So, for instance, like I'll use health and fitness because I was talking about Mount Everest. So, where I was honestly on a scale of 1 to 10, January 1st I was probably about a 3,
Okay.
and I love working and I've always been athletic and, healthy. So I've never felt this real drive about health and fitness, but I rated all of these things on my Wheel of Life between 1 to 10. and I got to see where everything fell. And then I did another column and I said, where do I want them to be? And so the ones that I wanted to have be higher, there were three of them. I chose career, financial, health, and fitness. And those are the ones I focused on this year. Most brains can focus on three things at a time. And I would encourage anyone to use this balance wheel. And if somebody wants a copy of it, just email me. I think Frank's going to put my email up, but it's a great tool, Frank. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're plotting each thing 1 to 10. You quickly see that the wheel is never balanced, and you can't roll a wheel down the street if it's not well balanced, right?
At one point in my career as a coach, I used to feel that balance for one person was not necessarily balanced for another. Like it didn't have to be a wheel that rolled down the street, like you were saying. And I've changed that because it's the standard that we hold ourselves at. If like I was a 2 in health and fitness, but I wanted to be, an 8 or a 9, like that 8 or 9 is what I say is an 8 or 9. So it's the idea is all of the areas that you're rating are at your best, not at somebody else's best. So I think I really believe the wheel needs to be a wheel. So, yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a great tool. And I know we used to use it from time to time. Sometimes you would bring it up like, I think we need to do the wheel again, and kind of almost like a check-in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll get that out to folks that are interested.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great tool because it helps you, as you said, it's a great check-in and it helps you stay focused. So I had these 3 areas, career, financial, health, and fitness this year. If I was doing fun and recreation, then I wasn't doing one of those 3 areas. So it really helps determine where your focus is, what are the actions you're going to take. If you're taking an action that is, I don't know, let's say there's another piece in the wheel called physical environment. And, if I started doing things on my physical environment, when my physical environment is a 9 already, it was a distraction from doing my career or financial, so it helps you focus. Yeah. So will you do a wheel?
Sure, I'll do a wheel.
Now we're at the end of the year.
Okay.
Will you do a wheel?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
The other thing we did together that I thought was so meaningful is, like I said, we would do our calls either weekly or every other week. And we never left a coaching session without some sort of weekly or some sort of accountability where you would have me fill out, I think you called it like a prep sheet. I think it was my call prep sheet. And I had to submit it to you before, like a day or two before our call. I wanted to know if some of the components of the accountability, it wasn't like, just did you do this? Would you share with the audience the meaning and some of the content of that weekly accountability? Like what were you looking for before you had that call with me?
Okay. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Coaching call planning form.
Oh yeah.
And the first question is, what are you listening to? Because if someone is listening to things that are negative, then that's where their focus is. So it becomes, what are you listening to or what are you reading? Okay. We're going to fill our brains with information. You want to be in control of what you're filling it with, not at the mercy of what you happen to see, right? And then it says, what are your goals for the next 90 days? So we would work together on a quarterly basis. And by writing them down every week, it conditions them into your brain. It anchors them in so that, again, you're focusing on them. If you're thinking about your goals, you're not thinking about taking an action on something that's not going to get you to your goals. So it's writing your goals. I would suggest people read their goals at least minimum 3 times a week. You can read them every day, but you don't have to read all the actions you're going to take to do it, but just your goals. So your brain actually works on there's that gentleman named Keith Cunningham.
Of course. I've been to many of Keith's conferences, of his workshops.
You have been.
Oh yeah. The 4-day MBA and buying or selling a business and plan or get slaughtered.
Yes. He's brilliant. And one of the things that he talks about is think time. Do you remember that? Where you take an hour, I want to say it's 1 hour a week, where you put yourself in a room that is not your office, and you bring a pad in and you just sit there. You can go in with a question you want to answer.
Mm-hmm.
However, you're not there to make notes about everything you have to do for the next week. It's just letting your brain take the time to think.
Mm-hmm.
And have you done that?
I have. And I would never be able to tell the story like the way Keith says it, of course, because Keith is just incredible. But Keith told us, he learned the thinking time from the junk bond king, Michael Milken. And Keith so back in the 80s, Keith was sitting next to Michael Milken during a big meeting. And Michael was asked a question on when can we look at this? And he opens up his little day timer and goes, I need to see when I'm going to be thinking again. And he says, I'm going to be thinking again on Wednesday at like 1 a.m. So that's when I'll get back to you the next morning. I just kind of paraphrasing, but yeah, the thinking time though is masterful because most of us don't schedule how we're going to plan or thinking about something that's important. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.